Hi there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode where I'm going to be interviewing some awesome physical educators who are going to share some of their knowledge with us to implement into our classrooms, into our, physical classrooms, virtual classrooms, or whatever. They've been doing a great work. I actually have been connected with them on Twitter for a couple of years, so I want them to introduce themselves. Please, coaches, tell us who you are.
My name is Mark Foellmer, and this is my wife Becky, and we're just so lucky that we've had the opportunity to work together. Becky's background is not only in physical education, but my goodness, she's also got a background in math and computers and has taught all of those subjects, and then is an instructional coach currently at her former school district, and is currently at another school district in a consulting role as well. So she's just, from a physical education and health standpoint, we're really lucky to have someone like that has that kind of a background to help push our profession forward. And whether she likes it or not, I've kind of drug her into the different leadership roles within our state and national organizations.
Yeah, and obviously this is my husband Mark, and he is a very busy guy. He's in lots and lots of leadership roles at all three levels, state and Midwest and national level. He's the current president-elect for Shape Midwest. So that it happens to be his current role, and he's also a past president of IAFERD, which is our state organization. And he definitely pulled me into a lot of roles, and I'm enjoying it tremendously. I know I would never be doing the things that I'm doing right now if it hadn't been for all of the things that he has chosen to get involved with, and I think we're both just really excited to see the changes and improvements in health and physical education over the past few years.
Well, that's wonderful. Now, I'm gonna ask a question that will probably just tip the interview in reverse. But one of the things that I wanted to ask, if you all are still actively in the classroom in a physical education standpoint, but if not, I wanted you all to shed some light on what can happen or what opportunities are available for coaches and PE teachers after the classroom. I don't think that, we're given that much information on how we can continue to advocate for, our program after the fact, that whether you want to leave the classroom or you just have a bigger calling. Can you give us a little bit more insight on that?
Yeah, and in fact, it's really a journey, and I appreciate talking with you prior to this, because it gave some insight. Because my path wasn't directly into physical education. I mean, I went and I got my degree from Eastern Illinois University in physical education, and then I went on for my master's in sport management, and that's where that connection you and I have with the educational background. But that first job opportunity for me was actually as director of Prairie State Games, which was Illinois' version of the Olympics. And it was a program that was supported by the United States Olympic Committee, as well as the Governor's Councils on Health and Physical Fitness across the country. And obviously, eventually, the funding for that sort of a program dries up. And it had accomplished its goal. The purpose behind that was the United States Olympic Committee wanted to expose more younger athletes to international style competition and rules, because we weren't doing very well back in the day. And so that was where that push came from. That eventually led to my physical education career. And so to circle back around to your question, mine was actually in the reverse. I started outside the field and then went into the field. So I want to express to people in the field that there are those kinds of opportunities out there. And then from there, I was truthfully, because of all the different leadership roles and allowing about mid-career to get involved with those sorts of things, it improved my teaching to the point where I was fortunate enough to be recognized as the IAFER, that's our state association middle school teacher of the year, and then Shape America's Midwest District teacher of the year. And that brought me back around to these opportunities to then where we both get to travel the country and present and share information at state conventions, as well as have the opportunity to train and teach colleagues that are in the field, whether it's through a school district institute day or whatever that might be. And so now it's come full circle again. So now I've been in the field. Now we're entering into this new phase of what can be for people that are in the profession.
Wonderful.
And I would just say, and our experience is more related to when we retired, what were we going to do? Because a lot of people just get out of the profession, they're just done. They don't really share what they've learned. And I think that's kind of a shame because, we still all have in our hearts that desire to improve education, whatever field it might happen to be in that you're passionate about. And for us, it happens to be health and PE. And I just, I think I don't know, personally, as we got closer and closer to retirement, we both knew there's no way that we were just going to completely leave the field. We needed to be able to find a niche, find something that we could, provide and help out. And basically, I mean, we don't make any money at what we do. In fact, it costs us a lot of money. But we love it. We love the opportunity to get out and talk with people, to learn their stories, kind of what we also were talking about prior to this interview of the stories. There's so many people in health and physical education that just have amazing stories. And it's so neat to interact with them. And I mean, it's extremely uplifting and extremely encouraging. And they always say that there's no such thing as an unselfish sort of kind task, and that's kind of the way it is for us. I mean, we get so much out of what we do that it's far more than anything we could purchase, and it just makes us feel like we have something to offer. And when you get to the age of retirement, you start thinking about do I have value anymore? And what is my value? And what could I do that could help? And we both draw a lot on what would have helped us during that time that we were in the field. What kinds of things could have made it so much easier? And, for us, sort of the answer has been, being able to share resources and have some things available to sort of spur our thinking and get us moving forward. And, that's sort of the base of the things that we're trying to do.
And I love what you all are mentioning. And that's one of the things that I also want to encourage pretty much anybody in any field, that your experience, your story is something that can help somebody. I was speaking to another person I interviewed the other day, is that the people that we help, it doesn't matter how many steps ahead you are of them. Like if you have what you have to offer is still helping the person that's directly behind you. Like you don't need to have this much experience before you can help somebody. Like the one, whatever game that you played with your students is a game that you can introduce to somebody who just doesn't know it. They can have plenty more years ahead of you, but just a different way and strategy or the energy that you bring with certain things. A lot of things that you already have within you can help other people. And that's one of the things that I really want to bring to light is kind of, unfortunately, what I've been seeing trending is that people are just consuming so much and saying, I need help with this, tell me, or I need help with that, tell me. But there's a small amount of us who are giving. So I want to change the narrative on people's, not necessarily to stop receiving, but to in turn, remember that you have something to offer as well. and giving those people those ideas to say, okay, well, I might not feel like my idea is the best, but I can still offer it, and somebody might think it's the best thing in the world, or I never thought of it that way. So that's one of my missions, to make sure that we create people who are not only just receiving, but are giving, no matter what it is they have to give, whether it's a smile, a high five, or a goofy laugh or cheer, that they can give that to somebody and share, as well as take notes.
I really want to emphasize here that give and share, or give and take, is a two-way street, because I can't tell you how much that fuels the fire for us as well. And we continue to learn as we talk to future professionals and young professionals in the field, as well as old. Hopefully, hopefully we can find a way to help them and tip the scales for them, so that they continue with that growth mindset as well. So really good points, Abby.
That's wonderful. Thank you. So the next question that I have, with the experience that you all have, I'm going to ask how you've seen our profession evolve in terms of like evolution from maybe when you all started teaching in the classroom, and then even the pivot that we had to take all together when it came to COVID. What does that look like for you? How have you been able to travel on this journey and adjust maybe your own teaching style, but then also encourage people when it's just like nobody knows what's going on?
One of the things, and this is probably more from a teacher standpoint, but as I entered into the field, and even as a student, as a youth, going through school, and the beginning of my career, I believe the emphasis at that particular time was still sport themed, and that's how physical education classes were taught and presented. And as things started to evolve, I would say maybe mid-career, I started to see that we were more focused on fitness and a fitness theme. And at the end of my career, it had transitioned into lifetime activities. And I think from a personal standpoint, that's that sweet spot. I think it's really important that students learn to appreciate movement and find the things that bring joy to them when they are out and about doing whatever interests them. As physical education teachers delivering quality programs, we want to make sure that we expose students to as many activities as possible. They don't have to perfect them, which in my opinion was the goal in the beginning of my career with the sport theme. We just want to expose them so that later on in life they have a base to draw from, and I remember doing something like that. I enjoy hiking. I enjoy skateboarding, whatever it might be, and so that they find that passion and joy that will keep them moving. I think lifetime activities in a classroom setting empowers students. It engages them more. And I think that's the sweet spot that we're at this point, and that's what I've seen over a career span of life in the field.
Yeah, and to just sort of piggyback off that, these last couple of years, with everything that has happened in the field, I think that there's a real nice silver lining there, in that a large number of health and physical educators, that, especially physical educators, that were really not invested in the use of technology, or even seeing the value in the use of technology, have now started to see it. And I don't know if we would have gotten to at least to this point without COVID, because a lot of folks have the concept that I'm not using technology in my gym because kids need to, get away from the screen and so on. And I understand the concept, but, a lot of people will say, it takes away from activity time. And the truth of the matter is, if you're using technology correctly it actually increases tremendously your activity time. And so, these last couple of years have moved us forward, I think, leaps and bounds. And I think we have a real fantastic opportunity now to really improve how we're taking advantage of technology. As an educator, I don't care what field you're in, your job is to take advantage of every single tool that is at your disposal. I mean, if you're not, then you're really not doing your job. And so if you have the opportunity to take advantage of technology and to use it to help your kids learn, then, we certainly should be doing that. So I would say the biggest, in the last 2.5 years, we've probably jumped forward about, 10 or 15 years in terms of getting people to see the value and understand that there are things that technology can help us with and can really, really impact, the learning in our classrooms.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Like, I couldn't agree more. I know COVID for me, as the horrible things that have come up out of it, it was an exciting time for me to be able to jump forward with the tech that I have been wanting to play with for forever. So I made a number of different activities for my students. But one of the things that it really did take us literally leaps and bounds ahead in would have taken a long time if it was done naturally. It opened up our classroom to be a global place, to see other educators and other students from across the world. And I think it really banded educators together to say, I don't know what's going on. Please help me, especially when it came to people who, like in DC, they spent the entire year at home. And fortunately here in Dubai, I didn't have that. I was blended, but I was able to see my students, but I didn't have to teach the entire year solely online. So thank you once again for all of the things that you shared thus far. One of the other things that I want to make sure that we bring to light, as we have many new teachers and people who are in school, are the various untapped resources that are available to everybody. So like we know social media is a great way to do it, but there are platforms and places that people can go to receive information and pretty much study up. So what would you all suggest as some untapped resources that either new or teachers who've been in profession for a long time can go and get fresh ideas and be able to professionally develop on their own?
Well, I mean, I hate to plug our own site, but the first place I would say would be cbhpe.org. And our goal really with CBHPE has been to, actually, as I've thought about this further, I've started to realize it's kind of like a makerspace for health and PE teachers. It gives you a lot of different ideas, different concepts, different ways to approach learning certain skills, etc. And I think that, if we can help teachers access CBHP, I do think it can have a big impact because, and of course, we'll see lots and lots of times, no matter how long we've been trying to get the word out, people have never heard of it. And so it's hard sort of to get those folks that aren't interacting on social media to realize that it's there. And of course, we don't have a big marketing budget or anything like that to try to get it to just Mark and I trying to, sort of get the word out. But we really feel like there's a lot of opportunity there for folks to really see what others are doing in the field. And that's, you have a chance, well, how are other people using this? Well, here's a really great way to take a look at that.
And piggybacking off of the technology end of things, I know for me personally, the changing moment was getting a projector into my classroom. Now, obviously, there's all sorts of ways that we can use technology, as simple as the projector all the way to using Google Classroom for assessment. But the projector, why it was such a big game changer is because it really did recapture or allow for additional activity time. And simple as, there are certain administrative responsibilities I have or had at the beginning of every single class that I had to do and report in. And instead of, the old fashioned way, sit in your rows, blah, 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 now kids could be engaged. As soon as they come into the classroom, we could have something projected up and a warm up activity, instant activity, and they're moving. And so that's how we can regain some of that activity time. And then we also know that students learn best by seeing something over and over. Well, I can only perform a skill maybe one time really good throughout the day, although I'm supposed to do that every single class. But by having a GIF running over and over and over, projected up on the wall, the students can see it all the
Game
time.
changers.
And that, and what that allows me to do then is I can then get around to all the students and maybe help students or have conversations with students one-on-one, which in turn develops that teacher-student relationship, which as you develop those relationships has a huge impact on student growth and the learning process. And I know this is kind of silly, but something as simple as having the skill being projected up on the wall or the directions projected up on the wall, it actually allows the teacher to save their body, if that makes sense. You're not pounding on the gym all the time, or you're not talking all the time. So it saves our bodies and our voices. And so that I think that's really important. If you can do anything in your technology advancement, work for getting a projector. If you don't have a projector, get one into your classroom.
Yes. So that is a very valid point. I know the projector for me in my first teaching situation in Southeast DC, I managed to go and find like an old Apple computer in the basement and a projector that I took from somewhere else that wasn't being in use and made like a cart. I found a speaker and had like a rolling cart. And being able to project things and do dance songs, that's when like Go Noodle was just coming out. My students, especially like in inner cities, they needed to move immediately. They needed instructions immediately, or I was going to have some problems. Doesn't matter what the problems was chasing somebody down the hallway or somebody getting into a fight. But that captivated their attention and allowed them to get, started immediately. So technology in the classroom is now going to be vital. And now one of the things that I'm on, and I know you all do in your website and the resources that you provide, is trying to close that gap, not only from students, but for teachers. Maybe people who've been doing this for a long time and don't know how to create these resources. You all provide tons of free resources that people can implement into the classrooms same day.
Yeah, and just like what you were saying there, Mark always says it. It was like I cloned myself the day that I got a projector, because I suddenly had two teachers in the classroom, and it was, just really huge in terms of classroom management, in addition to making all those connections and so on.
That's wonderful. Now, I don't want to take up too much of you all's time today, but I really want to, be able to capture some of your wisdom to share, not only with myself, but with the world. So if you all had 3 tips, and you can do it for educators in general, specifically for health and physical educators, but what would and I know you all have different tips, which is great. So we're going to get 6 today. What tips would you give to people who are in our realm in 2021?
For the first one that I'll share out is advocate. It starts with our students, and it's important to advocate to those students and deliver a quality program, because those are the future decision makers. From there, you want to advocate to your parents, colleagues, administration, and because those are the individuals that are making decisions right now. And then if you can, advocate to those local, state, and national policymakers, legislators, because they will have an impact not only now but into the future, and that deals with policy as well as funding. So it's important to reach out to those individuals. Something as simple as invite people into your classroom if your school district allows for that. I encourage you to do that. The colleague end of things, as far as advocating, be involved beyond just your classroom and the athletic fields. If your school is running, say, a family math night or reading night, make sure you're involved with that, because you increase that connection with your fellow teachers, and you're showing that physical education is part of a whole child education, that we can make connections between math and physical education. And it's important that as parents funnel through the building, that they see that it's not, physical education is not what they may have experienced, that it is totally new, and that it is part of their son or daughter's whole education. That's students' whole education. My next tip is attend an adapted PE session. Adapted physical education teachers, to me, are just geniuses. They're engineering geniuses. They have amazing creativity, and they understand how to modify lessons to meet their students' needs. And truthfully, we all should be modifying our lessons to every one of our students. So I think it's vital to take in what an adapted physical education teacher has to say. Check out the creativity that they have and how they're delivering their lessons to their students. I think it's really important, so take advantage of that. And finally, tip number 3, please be a member of your organization's professional organization, whether it's at the state level or the national level. In our case, Shape America. Be a part of that, because that allows you to be informed. It helps you create a professional network of people that you can tap into, that you can gain resources from, that you can gain support from. And I believe that that's really important to take advantage of those organizations.
Wonderful.
So my 3 tips. The first one is find others that you can discuss pedagogy with. Physical educators, just traditionally and historically, tend to be very isolated. And I know in the districts that I have worked in, there's very little opportunity often for health and physical educators to really have curricular discussion. And, districts make decisions to provide opportunities for quote unquote core areas, but they often do not do the same for health and physical educators. And if you're not talking pedagogy with people, you really cannot grow as a teacher. Because you'll just continue to do the same things over and over and over and over again. And as we've already talked about, the beginnings of our careers to the ends of our careers, things have changed a lot. And that's true, for me, I was teaching in math and then computers and then as an instructional coach. And so all of those things have changed so much over the years. But one of the things that I appreciated the most was my opportunities to have discussions about pedagogy, professional discussions. And whether or not those people are people that are in your district, if you have those people that want to discuss pedagogy and are willing and you have the time, great. If not, there's plenty of us outside of the profession that are also willing to have those discussions. And again, that is another one of the big silver linings of COVID, is that we learned how to interact without being face-to-face. And we learned that we can interact without being face-to-face. And many of us gathered in all kinds of different settings, including DMs on Twitter and Zooms and et cetera, to be able to have those discussions. And I don't think a single person out there that did have those discussions would not say that they didn't grow enormously as a result of them. So we have to continue having those discussions about pedagogy so that we don't have someone, people that have been in the field for 20 years and are literally still teaching exactly the same way as they did when they came into the field. I mean, it shouldn't happen. My second tip would be reflect. Spend time reflecting on your lessons. A lot of us get so busy that we just forget to stop and think about our lesson and what happened and what could we improve and how could we improve it. And in really asking, did my students seem to, did my lesson affect all or engage all of my students? Did the students seem to quickly understand the lesson? Are there things that I could have done differently that could have improved the lesson? Did I get feedback from my students in order to make sure that I'm understanding their perception of that lesson? You need to be asking those questions literally daily. And I can say at the beginning of my career, I definitely did not do a good job with this. Yes, I thought about it, while things were going along, but I didn't stop and really take the time to think about it. At the end of my career, I got much better at that. I started really, intentionally reflecting on my lessons at the end of a day. And I would look back and I would think about it. I would make notes to myself and fix things that I knew just did not work at all and really try to improve things. So the second tip would be take time to reflect. And we need to do that with our students in their learning, and we also need to do that with our own teaching. Both of those things are super important. And then my third tip is take advantage of professionals out there who are freely sharing their work, especially for those topics that you don't feel confident or competent in. Just because as a teacher, we're not competent in every single area. And let's face it, in PE especially, there's a million areas to be competent in. And as Mark said earlier, we want to be exposing our kids to as many activities as possible. This is one of the most powerful pieces of technology, is the fact that we can expose students to things that we are not personally competent in. I totally could not have taught dance well. However, in today's world, there are enough professionals out there sharing all of their knowledge and all of their skills via video and so on, that we can still bring these exact same things to our students that they're bringing to their students. And what's cool is, you have the opportunity to say, look, this is my friend from New Jersey that is showing you how to dance today. And, and a lot of the kids are pretty impressed by the fact that you actually know people from other parts of the country or other parts of the world. And I think we really need to take advantage of that. And again, it goes back to that projector. All you need is a projector and a computer. And in the big scheme of things, that's a small, amount of funding that's needed compared to all of the other equipment needs and so on that we purchase for health and PE. And once you have it, and you don't have to continually replace it in general. So those are my 3 tips.
Those are wonderful tips. So I'm so thankful that you all shared those things, and these are things that have been close to my heart. Too often I've had to search for the answers that I wanted, and COVID even still had me stretching and searching and saying, there was a time where I'm making digital lessons and I reach out to a teacher in Australia and I was like, please take a look. Let me know what you think, because it's one thing for me to just do what I think is okay, or the people says, it's also a different thing to get feedback from somebody who isn't teaching. They don't have the knowledge, the skills, or just the heart for it. So I reached out to different people. Please take a look. If you can, give me some feedback. That would mean the world to me. And gave me great insight that continued to encourage me for my students, because there's a lot of things that you can do. There's a lot of things that you can do to entertain, especially in PE, which is why sometimes we get a bad rap, because people are like, you have all this equipment. Like, the kids like the equipment. They don't really listen. They do whatever they want. But when it comes down to it, there's people out there that have a better appreciation for the things that we can do, the lifelong skills that we can build in these students and expose them to. I have a number of different parents ask me, like, this is the first place that I've actually had parent-teacher conferences, and and parents actually wanted to see me. Like, what should I put my kid in? Anything that these students can learn how to be a good team player is what I would suggest, and doing fundamentals. So you said many things that are definitely light bulbs, like in my life and in my areas, that I'd love to continue to give that passion and that information to other people. So thank you, in a sense, for the validation that I'm not crazy and that there's work to be done, that other people need to be exposed to. So I want you all to please just let us know the places that we can find you, where we can follow you, and how we can continue to spread this message to people who are eager to continue to support not only our students, but our community as a whole.
Well, all of our contact information is on cbhpe.org, and that includes our Twitter handles. I'm at Foes for Sports, Mark's at Coach Foe. And, we do try to regularly share on Twitter, hopefully, small enough bits that it might hopefully not be as overwhelming. But if you go to our site, you can always contact us. You can contact us directly from the website, or we also have our email addresses there. And this is the most important piece that we try to share every time that we present anywhere, and that is, we promise we will help you if you want help on something. If there is anything that you see that you look at, you go, man, I want to do that. I want to create my own X, Y, or Z, but I have no idea where to start. Or I know how to do this much, but I don't know how to do these pieces. Just contact us. We'll help you. We'll Zoom with you, or we'll send you, step-by-step screenshots, whatever is easiest to help you move along. We're happy to help. Personally, for me, that is my sweet spot. That is my favorite moment in the whole wide world, is to work with someone who's right at that perfect readiness point to learn something. They truly want to learn, and they're reaching out to learn. It's like the perfect moment, and it's so fun to work with people that are really wanting to take advantage of whatever it happens to be. So please reach out. We're more than happy to help.
I can attest that this is true. Becky, I believe you got on a Zoom call with me maybe a couple of years ago for something that I was stuck on. Yeah. So, and even with this is another, reaching out and just saying, hey, would you mind having a conversation with me? And I didn't even just get one call, you got two. So people out there that are saying, they would absolutely help you. And I think that, and especially in these times, you're finding a lot of people that are wanting to share knowledge. Sometimes they just don't know what you need help with. So I would definitely encourage you all to please reach out, even if it's just getting feedback. That's one thing that I definitely want us to do as a community more, is to give feedback on things that we've done, and maybe not just like points of improvement, but when you were speaking about reflection and things of that nature, being able to say, what do you think about this, as well as, just internal. So I've really appreciated the conversation that we've had here.
Can I share one more thing about that topic? Mark and I are in the process of working on a new session that we're really excited about. We did a lesson study with a group of teachers from all over the world, and it was headed up by a professor, Naoki Suzuki, in Tokyo. And that lesson study concept is just captivating me right now. You really dig in and really review and, look at potential criticisms, as well as potential, just giving people positive feedback, as well as, how can we really, really improve the lesson? And it is just so powerful to have that discussion. It kind of goes back to my tip one of talking about pedagogy. It's really, really neat to have that time to do that. So the session we're working on, where people will view a lesson, everyone will view that same lesson, and we got permission from one of the teachers in Japan to be able to use their lesson. And then you have the opportunity to, as a group, discuss some of the things that you saw that were positives and some of the things that you saw that could be improved upon. And it's really an awesome experience. I have learned a tremendous amount from doing it. We've done 2 of those with international groups.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much again for your time. I think that we should, we'll have another discussion and have a follow-up conversation in the future of other things and suggestions that we can do, especially, if you all, the audience, put comments below on things that you're having questions with and you'd like to have a follow-up conversation. I know that I would be more than interested, and I'm sure that our lovely coaches here will be doing the same. So thank you so much for watching us today, and thank you all once again for joining. And I look forward to the next conversation that we have. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you very much.